Hello students, I'm Sai Baba here. So in my previous class, I have discussed the relationship between torque and angular acceleration for a rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis. So this is what I have shown on the screen at the end of my previous class. Again, I am showing the same thing on the screen. Let me just a repetition. I won't be repeating the whole class. Don't get worried. So I am just showing the conclusion which I have discussed near the end of my previous class again, so that I will be continuing. So if a rigid body is performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, then the resultant of all the external torque acting on the rigid body along the axis of rotation is equal to product of its moment of inertia and angular acceleration alpha bar about that axis. So direct of the resultant torque on the rigid body same as the direct of its angular acceleration, or conversely you can say direct of angular acceleration alpha bar same as the direct of the resultant torque on the rigid body which acts along the axis of rotation. So just as this equation is similar to the Newton's second law of a rigid body in pure translatory motion. So for rigid body in pure translatory motion, the resultant of all the external forces on the body can be written as product of the mass of the body and linear acceleration of the body. Direct of the linear acceleration A bar for rigid body in pure translatory motion same as the direct of the resultant of all the external forces acting on the body. Just as you know, in the case of problems in one-dimensional motion, that means when the body moves in a straight line path, such that in the case of one-dimensional motion, if the direction of the acceleration is in the direction of the velocity, then magnitude of velocity will be increasing with time. In the examples of one-dimensional motion, if the direction of acceleration in the direction of velocity, then magnitude of velocity will be increasing with time. In the case of problems in one-dimensional motion, with a constant acceleration, that means in the case of one-dimensional motion, in pure translatory motion, which I discussed in the past in Newton's laws and friction, the direction of the acceleration is opposite to the direction of the velocity. Then magnitude of velocity will be decreasing with time. In the similar way, when the rigid body performs pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, if magnitude of the angular velocity omega is increasing with the time, then the direction of alpha bar same as the direction of omega bar. And the magnitude of the angular speed or magnitude of angular velocity decreasing with time, then the direction of alpha bar will be opposite to omega bar. So this is what I have discussed already in the previous class. So next I would like to discuss one problem based on this result, torque equal I alpha, which we call Newton's second law for rigid body in pure rotational motion. After discussing one problem, I will be showing you the complete comparison of equations of motion for rigid body in pure rotational motion about a fixed axis and similar equations for a rigid body in pure translatory motion. Come on, look at the problem on the screen. This is the problem number 7 in rotational motion. I am going to read out the problem. A constant torque of 10 to the power of 7 dyne centimeter is applied on a wheel of mass 500 gram. which is initially at rest. The radius of gyration of the wheel about its axis, 50 centimeters. Then find the angular speed of the wheel after 2 seconds. To find the angular speed of the wheel after 2 seconds, you have to find angular acceleration alpha. So you are given the magnitude of the torque, 10 to the power of 7, 9 centimeters. So 9 centimeters unit of torque in the CGS units. And mass of the wheel is given to be 500 grams. And the radius of gyration of the wheel denoted by K, about the axis of rotation 50 centimeters. That means all the values are given in the CGS system. So to find the angular acceleration alpha by using Newton's second law for rotational motion, we have to first find the moment of inertia. If K is the radius of gyration of a rigid body about an axis, then moment of inertia of the rigid body about that axis given by I equal mk square. So here m is equal to 500 grams, k equal to 50 centimeter. So you can simplify it. Then applying Newton's second law for the rigid body in pure rotational motion, the net external torque on a rigid body about an axis equal to product of its moment of inertia and angular acceleration alpha about that axis. So angular acceleration so the angular acceleration alpha equal to the external torque on the rigid body by moment of inertia I. This you can write 125 into 10 to the power of 4 grams centimeter square. Substituting these values here, all values are expressed. Of course, you will get same answer for alpha even if you express torque and moment of inertia in SI units. So you get, if you simplify this, you get alpha equal to 8 radian per second square. The initial angular velocity is 0 because the wheel is initially at rest. You have to find the final angular velocity of the wheel at t equal to 2 seconds, after 2 seconds. So if a body rotates with constant angular acceleration alpha about a fixed axis, then final angular velocity after time t is given by omega f equal to omega I plus alpha t. So here initial angular velocity is 0. Alpha is equal to 8 radian per second square, t equal to 2 seconds. So if you simplify this, you get the answer as 16 radian per second. So if you want to copy the answer, you can take a pause and copy the answer. So for the problem which I have just discussed now, answer is 16 radian per second. So next I am going to discuss the relationship between torque and angular momentum. So going back to the definition, for angular momentum of the particle and torque acting on the particle here, So I am going to discuss the relation between torque and angular momentum. So as I was discussing earlier, I have discussed in my previous classes. So if r bar is the position vector of a particle with respect to origin O of a fixed coordinate system or with respect to the origin O of a laboratory frame of reference, and p bar is the linear momentum vector of the particle with respect to the same origin O, then angular momentum vector L bar of the particle with respect to the origin O is given by r bar cross p bar. You just concentrate only to listen to my explanation. Please don't write running notes when I am discussing this. So next, later I will show you the conclusion on the screen. So if you differentiate this, both sides with respect to time t, this you can write it as dr bar by dt cross p bar plus r bar cross dp bar by dt. So from Newton's second law, the time rate of change of linear moment of the particle dp bar by dt, the time rate of change of linear moment of the particle gives you the resultant of all the forces acting on the particle, which can be denoted by F bar. And dr bar by dt, that is rate of change of position vector of the particle with respect to origin O, gives you the linear velocity vector v bar as I discussed in kinematics. So if you substitute these values here, therefore you get dl bar by dt equal to v bar cross p bar plus r bar cross f bar. But from definition, linear momentum of particle is defined as the product of the mass of the particle and linear velocity vector v bar of the particle. Direction of the linear momentum vector p bar is same as the direction of the linear velocity vector v bar. Direction of the linear momentum vector p bar of the particle at any instant is same as the direction of the linear velocity vector v bar of the particle at that instant. So when two vectors act in the same direction or parallel to each other, then the cross product of the two vectors will be zero vector. So v bar cross p bar will be equal to v bar cross mv bar, that is m times v bar cross v bar, because m is the positive scalar. This will be 0 bar. And r bar cross f bar, from definition, if r bar is the position vector of the particle with respect to an origin O at a particular instant, and f bar represents the resultant of all the forces acting on the particle, then r bar cross f bar, from definition, gives you the moment of the force f bar with respect to origin O, or gives you the external torque acting on the particle. So making these substitutions here, r bar v bar cross p bar, you can write 0 bar plus tau bar. So the conclusion of the discussion is that the time rate of change of angular momentum of the particle gives you the external force acting on the external torque acting on the particle. So what we have arrived, we have arrived at the conclusion that the time rate of change of angular momentum of the particle with respect to origin O of a fixed frame of reference will be equal to the net external torque acting on the particle, because r bar cross f bar represents the resultant of all the forces acting on the particle. So r bar cross f bar gives you the moment of the resultant force on the particle. Therefore, R bar cross F bar can be written as tau bar, which represents the resultant torque on the particle. Therefore, time rate of change of angular momentum of the particle with respect to origin O gives you the external torque or resultant torque acting on the particle. The same result can be extended for a system of particles which perform rotational motion about a common axis. So now look at the screen. So those who are writing the notes, again they can get ready with your pen and notebook. Now I am going to show you the conclusion of the discussion which I have done just now about the relation between torque and angular momentum. So I can copy this heading, relation between the torque and angular momentum. I will read out this first. The total angular momentum of system of particles is the vector sum of the angular moment of all the particles of system. So in general, when you consider system of particles which rotate about a common axis of rotation, and total angular momentum system of the particle about the common axis of rotation can be written as vector sum of angular moment of all the particle system. If you consider system of n particles, n point masses which rotate about the common axis, then total angular system of all the particles is equal to vector sum of the angular of all the particles, individual particle system about that axis. A rigid body can also be a rigid body which is performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis. Can also be considered as a system of particles of which it is composed of. So total angular momentum of the rigid body performing pure rotation about a fixed axis is equal to vector sum of angular momentum of all the particles of the rigid body which compose the body. The conclusion which I discussed earlier, I want to show it on screen. The resultant external torque acting on a system will be equal to the time rate of change of angular momentum system. So if L bar is the total angular momentum system of the particle about a fixed axis, then the resultant of all the external torque acting on the system can be written as dl bar by dt. So next we are going to discuss about the principle of conservation of angular momentum of the system of the particles. So if the resultant of all the external torque acting on system of particles is 0, that means net external torque or vector sum of all the external torque acting on system of the particles is equal to 0 vector, then you can write dl bar by dt equal to 0 bar. If dl bar by dt is 0 bar, means L bar is a constant vector. That means if the resultant of all the external torques acting on all the particles of a system about an axis becomes 0, then the total angular momentum system of the particle about that axis remains constant, both in magnitude and direction, which we call principle of conservation of angular momentum, which is similar to the principle of conservation of linear momentum I have discussed and earlier in the chapter with the heading center of mass and conservation of linear momentum. The chapter with the heading I discussed with the heading center of mass and conservation of linear momentum, I said the total linear momentum of any system changes only due to the external force acting on system. The total linear momentum system of particles will not be changed due to the internal forces between the particles of the system. When the resultant of all the external forces acting on all the particles of system becomes 0, then vector sum of linear momentum of all the particle system remains constant, which I discussed in the past. There is similar principle in rotational motion, which we call principle of conservation of angular momentum. The total angular momentum system of particles changes only due to the external torques acting on system. The angular momentum of individual particles of a system about an axis may be changed due to the internal forces between the particles of system. The angular momentum of individual objects or particles within the system may change due to the internal forces or internal moments of the internal forces between the particles of system. But total angular momentum of any system changes only due to the external torques acting on system. So when resultant of all the external torque acting on system is 0, then the total angular momentum of the system remains constant, both in magnitude and direction. So this is we call principle of conservative angular momentum. I am going to show you the statement here on the screen. If you are copying the notes, you can take a pause and copy the notes. So I am going to read out the statement here, which we call principle of conservation of angular momentum. When the net external torque in a system is 0, and the total angular momentum system remains constant both in magnitude and direction. Those who are writing the notes, they can want to copy this statement, they can take a pause and copy the statement. So next I want to show a comparison between the relationships I have discussed so far in pure translatory motion and similar relationships we have in pure rotational motion. The equations of motion for rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis look similar to the equations of motion for rigid body performing pure translatory motion. So there are, as I discussed already in the past, and some of these similarities already have discussed. So I am going to show you a table. On the left side of the table, I am going to show the relationships which you are already familiar with for a body in pure translatory motion. I am right side in the column. I am going to show you the similar relationships you have for rigid body performing pure rotational motion. First, I will be showing you the list of the physical quantities we deal with for rigid body in pure translatory motion and corresponding or similar quantities or analogous quantities in rotational motion. Look at the screen here. See here on the left side, I have put the heading first serial number. On the left side, I have put in pure translatory motion. Right side, rotational analog. That means the quantity in rotational dynamics, which is similar to the quantity in pure translatory motion left side. So in the first serial number 1, I have written in pure linear displacement. Right side in rotational analog, angular displacement. The term angular displacement theta in rotational motion similar to the linear displacement as in pure translatory motion. The same way, the term angular velocity omega for rigid body in pure rotational motion is similar to the term linear velocity v for rigid body in pure translatory motion. The term angular acceleration alpha for rigid body in pure rotational motion is similar to the term linear acceleration A in pure translatory motion. The term moment of inertia in rotational motion, the term moment of inertia I in rotational motion will play a role similar to the mass m in pure translatory motion. So angular momentum L in for rigid body in pure rotational motion is rotational analog for linear momentum P in translatory motion. The term torque in rotational motion similar to the term force in pure translatory motion. So if you are writing the notes, you can take a pause and please finish copying these things up to here. So I would like to show you the continuation to this. That means at the table I am going to show you the continuation, or I mean comparison of the relationships in pure rotational motion and similar relationship in pure translatory motion. So look at the screen here. So for first relationship we discuss in kinematics in pure translatory motion is that if a body moves in a straight line path with constant velocity, then its acceleration is 0, then magnitude of displacement is equal to magnitude of velocity to time, or we write S equal to Vt or V equal to S by T. In the similar way, for rigid body performing pure rotational motion, if angular velocity omega bar is constant, then angular acceleration alpha will be 0. I mean, if a rigid body rotates about a fixed axis with a constant angular velocity, then its angular acceleration alpha is 0. And we can write angular displacement similar to the equation S equal to V. Instead of S, we can write theta. In place of V, we can write omega. So theta equal omega into T, or omega equal theta by T. So those who are writing the notes, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. So if omega bar is constant, then alpha is 0, then we can write theta equal omega T, or omega equal theta by T for rigid body in pure rotational motion. So those who are writing the notes, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. I want to show the continuation here. 8th point. So in the case of pure translatory motion, that means the left side column is for rigid body in pure translatory motion, and the right side column I have shown similar equations for rigid body in pure rotational motion. For a body moving in a straight line path with a constant acceleration, that means if a bar is a constant, then in linear motion, we write the A equal V minus U by T, as you are already familiar with all these equations, or V equal U plus AT, where U is the initial velocity, V is the final velocity after time T. The similar way, if rigid body rotates with a constant angular acceleration about a fixed axis, that means the alpha is constant, then in pure rotational motion, then similar to this equation, A equal V minus U by T. In the similar way, you can write alpha equal omega F minus omega I by T, or omega F equal omega I plus alpha T. Of course, it is understood that omega I is the initial angular velocity of the body, omega F is the final angular velocity of the body of time T. And for a body moving in a straight line path with uniform acceleration, the other equations of motion which we have discussed in kinematics are S equal to ut plus half ut square, v square minus square equal to as, and displacement is equal to u plus v by 2 into t, that is average velocity into time. And similarly, S equal to vt minus half ut square. Similar equations can be written for rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis with a constant angular acceleration. In place of linear displacement S, we write angular displacement theta. In place of linear acceleration A, we write angular acceleration alpha. In place of velocity V, we write angular velocity. So similar to S equal to T plus half ut square, you can write theta equal to omega I into T plus half alpha T square. And similar to V square or square to A, we can write omega F square minus omega I square equal to alpha. That is similar to this equation. S equal to U plus V by 2 into T, you can write theta equal to omega I plus omega F by 2 into T. And similar to the equation on the left side, S equal to Vt minus half it. So you can write theta equal to omega F into T minus half alpha T. The equations are written, shown on the left hand side. They are applicable only for a body which moves in a straight line path with a constant acceleration. And the equations on the right hand side are applicable only for rigid body which performs pure rotational motion about a fixed axis with a constant angular acceleration. So I would like to show the next number 9, serial number. Those who are writing the note, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes up to here. So for a body performing pure translatory motion, its kinetic energy is given by half mv square, or it can also be written half pv or p square by 2m. There p is the magnitude of linear moment of the body, v is the magnitude of linear velocity of the body, and m is the mass of the body. In similar equations can be written for rigid body in pure rotational motion. So if for a rigid body in pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, kinetic energy can be written as half I omega square. In place of mass m, we can write moment of inertia. In place of velocity v, you can write omega. In place of linear momentum p, you can write angular momentum L. So you can write similar equations on the right hand side. Linear momentum p bar of a rigid body performing pure translatory motion can be done mv bar. V bar is the linear velocity of the body. Same way, for rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, the angular momentum L bar can be done as I omega bar. In place of mass m, we should write moment of inertia I. In place of v bar, you write omega bar. So if you are writing the notes, you can take a pause and finish writing the notes. I would like to show the continuation to this. So for a rigid body in pure translatory motion, we can write the resultant of all the external force acting on the body is equal to dp bar by dt, or d by dt of mv bar. P bar you can write mv bar. M is the mass of the body. The mass of the body is a constant, and velocity v bar may be changing with the time. In that case, external force acting on the body or system of particles which perform pure translatory motion with a common acceleration, we can write the resultant of all the external forces can be done m bar into dv bar by dt. Or when several external forces act on a body so that the mass of the body does not change with time, and the resultant of all the external forces on the body can be done as ma bar. The similar equation on the right hand side I have written for rigid body pure rotation motion. Instead of P, you should write L. In place of mass, you can write I. For rigid body rotating about a fixed axis, moment of inertia can be treated as a constant. Then the resultant of all the external torque acting on the rigid body about an axis is equal to the product of its moment of inertia and angular acceleration alpha bar about that axis. So for a rigid body in pure translative motion, work done by constant force F bar is given by F bar dot S bar. The constant force F bar acts in the direction of the displacement. Then work done by the constant force can be done as F into S. If the angle between the direction of the force and direction of displacement is 0. Or in general, work done by an external force F bar acting on the body when it is undergoes from initial position I to final position S is given by integral dW. The dW represents the work done by the force F bar for infinitesimally small displacement dr bar. dW can be done as F bar dot dr bar. In the similar way, for rigid body in pure rotational motion about a fixed axis, and if the torque is constant, the external torque acting on the body is a constant, then work done on the rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis can be written as similar to F into S. You can write torque into theta. In place of force, we write torque. In place of linear displacement S, we write angular displacement theta. So work done in the general case, in some cases torque may not be constant. So in the general case, W we write integral dW. And dW the work done on the rigid body when the rigid body undergoes an infinitesimally small angular displacement d theta. Of course, you have to choose the limits of integration, proper limits of integration depending on the situation in the problem. So those who are copying the notes, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. So I would like to show the continuation to this. Those who are writing the note, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. So the work energy theorem, I have discussed the work energy theorem for rigid body in pure translative motion. That is, change in the kinetic energy of the body is equal to work done by the resultant force on the body. When several external forces act on the body of mass m performing pure translatory motion, then the work done by the resultant force can be written as algebraic sum of work done by individual force acting on the body. Change in the kinetic energy of the body for a body in performing pure translatory motion can be written as half m into v square minus u square, where u is the initial loss to the body, v is the final loss to the body. So change in the kinetic of the body when the velocity changes from u to v can be written as half mv square minus half mu square, or half mv square minus u square, which will be equal to the work done by the resultant of all the external forces acting on the body, which can be written as equal to the algebraic sum of work done by the individual force acting on the body. Similar relationship can be written for a rigid body performing pure rotational motion about a fixed axis. The change in the kinetic energy of the rigid body rotating about a fixed axis when its angular velocity changes from omega I to omega f, can be written as half I omega f square minus half I omega I square, or half I into omega f square minus omega I square. That is equal to the work done by on the rigid body by all the forces acting on the rigid body in pure rotational motion. In the case of pure translatory motion, if F bar is the external force applied on a body performing pure translatory motion by an external agent, and V bar is the instantaneous velocity, then the power delivered by the external agent or instantaneous power, we write F bar dot V bar. And F bar and V bar act in the same direction. Then the power delivered by the external agent to the body in the simplest situation, we write F into V. In the similar way, for rigid body in pure rotational motion, if tau bar is the torque applied on the body by an agent which rotates the body with angular velocity omega bar about the fixed axis, and the power delivered by the agent which applies the torque can be written as tau bar dot omega bar. If torque and omega bar act in the same direction, that means both act along the axis of rotation and act in the same direction, then power can be written as tau into omega. Similar to, in place of force F, we can write torque. In place of velocity, we can write omega. So those who are writing the note, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. For rigid body, next point I want to show, for rigid body in pure translatory motion, when an impulsive force acts on the body between two instants of time t1 and t2, then the impulse of the external force on the body, we write integral f dt. Impulse of the resultant of all the external forces acting on the body for the time interval for rigid body in pure translatory motion, the impulse of the resultant force on the body, that is integral f bar dt, is given by integral f bar dt between two instants of time t1 and t2, gives you the change in the linear momentum of the body during the same time interval, that is p2 bar minus p1 bar. P1 bar is the linear momentum of the body at the instant of time t equal to t1. P2 bar is the linear momentum of the body at the instant of time t equal to t2. The force F bar is constant, and the impulse, which we denoted by J bar, can be written as F bar delta t, which you can write P F bar minus Pi bar. Delta t is the time interval for which the force acts between the that is which you can write delta t is t2 minus t1. Pi bar is the initial moment of the body at the instant t equal to t1, and Pf bar is the final moment of the body at later instant of time t equal to t2. Similar relationship can be written for rigid body in pure rotational motion. Instead of impulse, we write angular impulse. The angular impulse, that means if an external torque acts on a rigid body about an axis momentarily for a short time interval, so that its angular momentum changes from L1 bar to L2 bar, and the body is said to be given angular impulse. If tau bar is the external torque which acts on the body for a short time interval dt, then angular impulse for time dt, we write tau bar dt. So angular impulse given to the body, if the impulse torque acts on the body between the two instants of time t equal to t1 and t equal to t2, is given by integral tau bar dt t1 to t2. That can be shown to be equal to the change in the angular momentum, because as I discussed earlier, the external torque on rigid body in pure rotational motion can be written as the time rate of change of angular momentum. So tau bar dt can be written as dl bar. So integral tau bar dt can be written as integral dl bar. Integral dl bar between the two instants of time t equal to t1 and t equal to t2 gives you the change in angular momentum for the same time interval. The torque, external torque applied on the rigid body in pure rotation motion is constant, and angular impulse can be written as tau bar in delta t. So delta t is the time interval during which the impulsive torque acts on the body. And Li bar is initial angular momentum at the instant t equal to t1. Lf bar is the final angular momentum at a later instant t equal to t2. So those who are writing the note, they can take a pause and finish writing the notes. So next I am going to discuss one problem based on the moment of inertia. So before I discuss about combined translational and rotational motions in my next class, I would like to discuss one problem based on moment of inertia, which was given in one of the previous entrance exam papers. I will read out the problem from the screen. Two identical circular rings of each of mass m and radius r are placed in such a way that their centers coincide, but their planes are mutually perpendicular. Find the moment of inertia system when the system rotated about diameter of one of the rings. So the two rings are arranged in mutually perpendicular planes. The two rings are arranged in mutually perpendicular planes. Therefore, diameter of one of the rings will become the central axis for the other ring. We number the rings as 1 and 2. That means the system is suppose rotating about the axis of ring 1. I'm sorry. The system is rotating about the diameter of one of the rings. That means about the diameter of first ring. That will become the central axis of symmetry for the other ring. I try to draw the diagram again with more clarity. So the two rings are ring 1, the axis is coinciding with the diameter of the ring 1, and which will be perpendicular to the plane of ring 2. So total moment of inertia of system of the two rings is equal to moment of inertia of the first ring about the axis plus moment of inertia of second ring about same axis. That is moment of inertia of the first ring means moment of inertia about diameter of the ring. Moment of inertia of second ring about the same axis means the for second ring the diameter for first ring will become the axis of symmetry, which we call central axis. That is moment of inertia of system of the two rings is equal to moment of inertia of the first ring about a diameter plus moment of inertia of the second ring about its central axis of symmetry. As I discussed in the past, in the one of the results I have discussed in the past based on the perpendicular axis theorem, moment of inertia of diameter of a circular ring, moment of inertia about a diameter will be half of the moment of inertia about its central axis of symmetry. Moment of inertia of thin uniform circular ring about its central axis of symmetry means the moment of inertia of ring about the axis passing through center of the ring and perpendicular to the plane of the ring is given by mr square. So moment of inertia about diameter will be mr square by 2. Therefore, moment of inertia system of the two rings about diameter of one of the rings will be 3 by 2 mr square. This will be the answer. So those who want to copy the solution of the problem, they can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. So for the problem 8, which I just discussed now, the answer will be 3 by 2 mr square, which was given in original in 2002 MSET in the medical paper in Andhra Pradesh. I would like to discuss one more problem based on the parallax theorem. The radius of guide of uniform disk about a line perpendicular to the disk is equal to its radius r. Find the distance of the line from center of the disk. That means we consider one axis passing through some point P. Let I be the moment of inertia of the uniform disk about the line mentioned in the problem. About which the radius of gyration is given as equal to r. Let I be the moment of inertia of uniform circular disk about this line, which is perpendicular plane of the disk, about which the radius of gyration k equal to r. Let ICM denote the moment of inertia of P. Circular disk about the parallel axis passing through center of mass. That is about central axis symmetry. Here the two axes are parallel to each other. From parallel axis theorem, you can write I equal to ICM plus MH square, where H is the perpendicular distance between the two axes, or distance of this line, first line I have drawn from the center of the disk. So from the relation, moment of inertia of the disk about this line, which is denoted by I, can be written as mk square. Moment of inertia of uniform circular disk about its central axis symmetry is given by mr square by 2. Can write this as, it is given that k equal to r. You can complete the problem by substituting k equal to r. Come on, take a pause and finish copying this and complete the calculation yourself. So you can simplify this yourself. I have shown the simplification on the screen. You can take a pause and finish writing the notes. So I will be continuing my discussion next class. So the answer is r by root 2 for this question. Okay, I will continue my discussion next class.